In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the brand new melee weapons that just released with the numbers event in Cold War and Warzone. You can unlock these actually through a challenge, which is very surprising, where you need to get 150 butcher medals with a melee weapon, but you should only be able to unlock it through the numbers event itself. We'll be taking a look at it today to try to see if this is the best melee weapon in the game, as it is probably the only one that I think is a perfect competitor to currently the best melee weapon, which is the E-tool. So we'll be taking a look at the SAI. We'll be seeing if it's, obviously fast, if it's good, what round does it drop off with its damage and things like that. So you would know if it's worth your time unlocking, either getting it through the bugged out challenge that you can get now or completing the numbers event. Before we fully get into it, as always, I have to thank every single one of you who have subscribed. We're on the road to hitting 30,000 subscribers and we are getting closer and closer. Obviously, we're super close to 29k, which is absolutely mind-blowing to be at this stage right now. So thank you all so much. And also be sure to drop a like on the video, as that does really help out the video to spread out there, and also just lets me know that you like this kind of content. Without further ado, let's get right into the review. So the first thing I'll say is these weapons, the first thing that you'll notice when you use them is, first of all, they're akimbo. We haven't seen anything like this before. Now, you could compare this to a thing like the ballistic knife, where you do have two blades that you can use, but only using, for example, if you're playing on a controller, using your right trigger will activate both of the blades. Whereas with the SAI, you will have to use them separately. So either pressing the left trigger will activate the left one, or activating the right trigger will activate the right one. And something that is very weird, you cannot activate both of them. I've seen on Warzone that you can activate two, what it looks like anyway. So it's very odd that on Cold War you can only activate them left and right, but I'm a huge fan of this. And personally, I love using the left side. It seems so much faster than the right one, but they're equally as fast. Now, another thing that is currently in the game that I will point out with this weapon is you can actually jump very far with it. I feel like this is probably going to be nerfed unless it's supposed to be part of the weapon, because it is described as a lightweight and versatile weapon with fast attacks. So it makes sense why it's fast, but it's very odd that you can basically leap very far in zombies or just multiplayer overall. Those are the two things that I feel like stand out the most with this melee weapon. Now quickly, we're going to take a really quick look at the stats before we get into any comparison or going up to high rounds with this melee weapon. So firstly is, if you look at the damage, if you look at the speed, if you look at the range, if you look at the mobility, the damage is the only thing that seems to be 50% halfway there with the damage. If you compare this weapon, as you can basically equip it and then you can just scroll over other weapons, you can see the stats compared to other things. So for example, the cane, the speed, range, mobility is decreased because the cane is slower or worse in those things. And then the main thing that you will notice is the damage. On every single melee weapon, the damage was the same until we got introduced to this size. And this is where a lot of things change. Now we're gonna get into how this weapon performs on the higher rounds, how it differentiates from, let's say, the E-tool, which in the past, the E-tool, in my opinion, was considered to be one of the fastest melee weapons. And if you put two together, which I actually was able to do in one of my games, the E-tool is incredibly slow compared to the fast swinging or fast movement of the size. But what it comes down to is its damage. So a normal melee weapon usually drops off without pack-a-punch and green rarity or any rarity on it around 14-13, but with the size it is totally different. That slither of damage has a huge effect on it, because the damage actually drops off on round 8, which is actually crazy in my opinion. Round 8, round 9, I noticed it happens. To see it drop off from round 14 to 13 with a normal melee weapon down to this, it's a bit disappointing. Now, it is a melee weapon. It is something that swings very fast, so no wonder it would drop off. If you had the same damage and if you swung the exact same speed that you are swinging right now, this would be absolutely crazy. So in a way, because of its really fast movement and really fast poking animation or just stabbing, it's pretty good. Now from there, you will have to upgrade your melee weapon, and I noticed in the higher 10s you will start seeing a drop off at some stage. I'm pretty sure then round 26 is another drop off, then a bit in the 30s with the purple rarity, triple pack-a-punch, and unfortunately from round 40 up, this melee weapon is no longer a one-hit kill. Compared to other melee weapons, no matter what their speed is, no matter what they are, they're always one shot past round 55, which is max health cap. So things like the E-tool, even though it's super slow now compared to the SAI, will still one shot zombies past round 55, whereas the SAI itself will not. Well, it doesn't even get up to round 55. That's the thing. It gets up to round 40 and then drops off. But the huge thing with this, in my opinion, is it's a melee weapon. At any time, I will never recommend for a normal player, a pro player, anything like that, to go into a game and use a melee weapon only for high rounds unless you want to complete a challenge. That's why we have things like wonder weapons. That's why we have things like better weapons like the Gallo, the Howler, to use for these higher rounds, so you don't have to rely on a melee weapon, as usually melee weapons just get you stuck in crowds no matter if it has lunge or if it doesn't. I actually haven't really noticed much lunge with the SAI. It feels like it does have a bit of it, but it's definitely nothing insane like, let's say, a sledgehammer, where it will straight up teleport you to the zombie to hit it. But the big question that I will be answering, in my opinion, personally to you, is this the best melee weapon in the game? Is this worth unlocking? And I will have to say, personally, from my experience of going for Dark Ether and using this quite a lot, yes, it is probably the best melee right now. It is worth unlocking because of the insane speed and things like that, and I'll try to explain to you how to use this effectively right now. So basically, usually if you spawn into a game, if you want to go for a high round, if you want to do anything like that, definitely spawn in with a melee weapon. And if you don't have the size unlock or anything like that, obviously just use a normal knife. But since the launch of this game, since I've made reviews and different things on melee weapons, the most redeeming factor of even the worst melee weapons is the fact that they give you the most amount of essence / points. So a normal weapon would give you around, I'm pretty sure it's 90 per zombie if you don't get headshots, but with the melee weapons, it's always critical kills, so it's always 115 damage points / essence, so it's amazing. And the sides are super fast. It doesn't really take a lot to go up to an upgrade station and just upgrade to green rarity, and that can actually last you for a pretty long time. So are the size worth it? Are the size the best? Yes. E-Tool, I'm sorry, but with the speed you have been dethroned. You might still deal the same damage, but I'm willing to sacrifice that damage for the insane speed of the size. And it's interesting that we've for once seen a melee weapon being dethroned from its thing. Obviously everybody will have different experiences, and the super fanboys of the E-Tool will always disagree with this because E-Tool is best to everybody. I personally prefer the size. They're not my favorite, and they just look cool. Can we just talk about how they look? They look sick. Like dual wield, the inspection, hell yeah, let's go. Anyway, I've been bragging on talking about damage and different things like that. It's worth it. Go ahead, go unlock it, complete the numbers event. It's kind of fun. Do it in zombies. I have a guide which I will link down in the description if you are kind of curious about how to complete these challenges, even though they're pretty easy. Now without further ado, I will be ending the video here. Something that I don't really do usually is be sure to join our Discord server if you have watched it this far. Link is down in the description. It's just a cool place we can hang out and like talk if you ever want to get in contact with me. Also be sure to follow my Twitter. What else can I self-promote? I don't know. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.